The asteroid mining station floated silently in the darkness of space. It was far from any planet or busy space route. Hyunwoo liked it that way. He had been working alone on the station for 3 years now. The quiet helped him forget things he did not want to remember. Hyunwoo was fixing a broken sensor on the outside of the station. His spacesuit made soft breathing sounds as he worked. The stars around him were cold and distant. He had done this kind of work thousands of times before. It was simple and peaceful. Then something caught his eye. There was a strange shadow in one of the small craters on the asteroid below. It looked wrong. Hyunwoo stopped working and looked closer. The shadow had straight edges. Natural rocks did not have straight edges like that. He pushed himself away from the station and floated down to the crater. As he got closer, he could see it was a small spacecraft. It was badly damaged. Burn marks covered its surface. One wing was completely gone. The other was twisted and broken. Hyunwoo landed next to the crashed ship. Through a small window, he could see movement inside. Something was alive in there. He checked his suit readings. The ship was leaking air fast. Whatever was inside would not live much longer. He found the door and tried to open it. It was stuck. Hyunwoo went back to his station and got some tools. When he returned, he cut through the damaged metal. The door finally opened with a loud crack. Inside the ship, 3 small figures huddled together in the corner. They were not human. Their skin was light purple and smooth. They had large eyes that looked almost human but were bigger and more colorful. Their ears were pointed and moved like a cat's ears. They were very small, like human children. The oldest one looked at Hyunwoo with fear and hope. She tried to speak, but her voice was very weak. The middle one was hurt badly. Dark fluid that might be blood was on her clothes. The smallest one just stared at nothing and did not move at all. Hyunwoo held up his hands to show he was not dangerous. "I want to help," he said slowly. His suit translated his words into sounds the aliens might understand. The oldest alien girl tried to stand up but fell down again. She was too weak. She pointed to the injured one and made sad sounds. Then she pointed to herself and the others. She said words that his suit could not translate properly. Hyunwoo did not need translation to understand. They were hurt and dying. They needed help right away. He had seen enough injured people in his old job to know what that looked like. He went back to his station as fast as he could. He brought a sealed rescue container that could hold 3 small people. It had its own air and heat. He was very careful as he moved each alien girl into the container. The injured one made small sounds of pain. The little one did not make any sound at all. Back on his station, Hyunwoo carried them to the medical room. The medical computer scanned them and gave him information. They were from a species called Villani. They were young, like human children between 6 and 12 years old. 2 of them were very sick from not eating enough. One had serious burns that needed treatment right away. The computer helped Hyunwoo give them medicine and food that was safe for their species. Slowly, the oldest girl got stronger. She could sit up and try to talk to him. "My name is Nari," she said in broken words that his computer could translate better now. "These are my sisters, Bomi and Yuna." She pointed to the injured one and then the quiet one. "I am Hyunwoo," he said. "You are safe now." Nari started to cry. The tears ran down her purple face. "Bad ones came to our home. They hurt everyone. They took our parents and all the grown-ups. We hid in the emergency ship, but we could not fly it properly." Hyunwoo felt something cold and angry start to grow in his chest. "Who took your parents?" "Krathan," Nari whispered the name like it was a curse. "They are big and mean. They have teeth like knives and claws like metal. They take people from their homes and make them work until they die." The injured girl Bomi opened her eyes and looked at Hyunwoo. She tried to smile but was too weak. She said something in her own language. "She says thank you for saving us," Nari translated. "She wants to know if you are really human." The grown-ups told stories about humans. They said humans are warriors who fight for people who cannot fight for themselves. Hyunwoo looked at the 3 small aliens. Bomi had burns on her arms and legs. Someone had hurt her on purpose. The little one, Yuna, just stared at the wall and would not talk to anyone. These children had seen terrible things. "How many people did they take?" Hyunwoo asked. "Everyone," Nari said. "Our whole colony. More than 200 people. All our families, our teachers, our doctors. They burned our houses and took everything valuable." Hyunwoo was quiet for a long time. He had left his old life behind because he was tired of fighting and violence. He came to this empty place to find peace. But looking at these hurt children made him remember why he used to fight in the first place. "Where did they take your people?" he asked. Nari shook her head. "We do not know. The Krathen have many places where they keep slaves. Our parents might be anywhere in the galaxy now." Bomi made a small sound. She was trying to say something. Nari listened and then looked back at Hyunwoo. "Bomi says the bad ones talked about a big place where they take all the people they steal. She heard them say a name, but she is not sure she remembers it right." "Tell me," Hyunwoo said. "Keth 7, Nari said slowly. "Does that mean anything to you?" Hyunwoo's face became very serious. He knew that name. In his old job, he had heard stories about Keth 7. It was a planet where the worst criminals in the galaxy sent people they wanted to disappear forever. "Yes," he said. "I know that place." Nari grabbed his arm with her small hands. Her big eyes were full of hope and desperation. "Can you help us get our families back? I know we are just children and we have nothing to give you. But please, they are all we have." Hyunwoo looked at the three girls. Nari was trying to be brave but was still just a scared child. Bomi was hurt and weak but still hoped someone would save her parents. Yuna had not spoken a single word since he found them. Something inside Hyunwoo that had been sleeping for 3 years began to wake up. It was not a gentle thing. It was the part of him that had once made him very good at his old job. The part that made bad people afraid. "I will help you," he said simply. Nari started crying again, but this time they were tears of relief. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you so much." Hyunwoo stood up and walked to his communication station. He had calls to make, people to contact, plans to create. The Krathen who had hurt these children and taken their families would learn something important about humans. They would learn that some things should never be touched. And children were at the top of that list. As he began typing messages to old friends he had not talked to in years, Hyunwoo looked back at the three alien girls. They were eating the food he had given them and talking quietly to each other. For the first time since he found them, little Yuna was looking around. The room, instead of staring at nothing, the galaxy was about to discover what happened when someone made the mistake of hurting children in front of a human who still remembered how to fight. 3 days had passed since Hyunwoo found the alien girls. They were getting stronger now. The medical bay had healed most of Bomi's burns, and even little Yuna had started to speak a few words. But Hyunwoo could see the fear still lived in their eyes. Nari followed him around the station like a shadow. She wanted to help with everything he did. "What are you building?" she asked as she watched him work on a new piece of equipment. "Something to keep you safe," Hyunwoo said. He did not tell her that he was turning his peaceful mining station into a fortress. The girls did not need to know how dangerous things might become. Hyunwoo worked late into the night after the girls were asleep. He sent coded messages across the galaxy to people he had not spoken to in years. People from his old life. People who understood the kind of work he used to do. The first reply came from Dongmin. They had served together in the Earth Defense Corps for 8 years. Now Dongmin worked for military intelligence, gathering information about threats to human colonies. "Hyunwoo, you old ghost," the message said. "I thought you were dead. Haven't heard from you since Jihai's funeral. What do you need?" Hyunwoo stared at the message for a long time. Jihai had been his younger sister. She died in a terrorist attack on Earth 5 years ago. That was why he left everything behind and came to this empty place in space. He wanted to forget the pain, but looking at Nari, Bomi, and Yuna brought back memories of Jihai when she was young. The way she would grab his hand when she was scared. The way she trusted him to keep her safe. He had failed to protect his sister, but he would not fail these children. He typed back to Dongmin. "Need information about Krathen slaver operations. Specifically a place called Keth 7, and I need it fast." Dongmin's reply came quickly. "Keth 7 is bad news, friend. It's not just a slave market. Intelligence reports say they're forcing captured scientists to work on weapons projects. Bioweapons. The kind that could kill entire planets. What's your interest?" Hyunwoo looked through the window of his communication room. He could see Nari sitting with her sisters, showing them pictures she had drawn of their home planet. Simple drawings of houses and families and happy times before the bad men came. "They took children," he typed back. "That's all the interest I need." The next message took longer to arrive. When it came, it contained files with security codes that Hyunwoo had not seen in years. Military intelligence data, ship movements, guard rotations, everything Dongmin could find about Keth 7. What Hyunwoo read made the cold anger in his chest grow hotter. Keth 7 was worse than he had imagined. It was not just one facility. It was an entire planet turned into a slave camp. Hundreds of thousands of beings from dozens of species were imprisoned there. They were forced to work in mines, factories, and research labs until they died. The Krathen made money by selling what the slaves produced. But they also rented out the smartest prisoners to other criminal groups who wanted new weapons or technology. It was a business that had been running for over 50 years. Hyunwoo sent another message, this time to Mi Young. She had been his squad leader back in the day. After the war ended, she started a private military company. She hired veterans who could not settle into peaceful lives. Mi Young, he wrote, I have a job that needs the old team. High risk, no pay. Probably illegal. Interested? Her reply came within an hour. You disappear for 3 years and this is how you say hello? What kind of job? The kind that matters, Hyunwoo wrote back. Slave camp. Children involved. I need people I trust. The next message was longer. Damn it, Hyunwoo. You know I can't say no to something like that. Give me coordinates. I'll bring whoever I can find from the old days. Over the next 2 days, more replies came in. Tae-hyun, the demolitions expert who had saved their unit more times than anyone could count. Sora, the pilot who could fly anything with engines and make it dance. Jinho, the medic who had pulled them all back from death's door at least once. They were all coming. His old team, scattered across the galaxy, dropping everything to help him. It reminded Hyunwoo why he had trusted these people with his life. While he waited for them to arrive, Hyunwoo started changing his station. He installed shield generators disguised as mining equipment. He built hidden weapon systems that looked like communication arrays. He created secret passages and safe rooms where the girls could hide if things went wrong. Nari noticed the changes. She was smart for someone so young. Are bad people coming here? She asked one morning while they ate breakfast. I won't let anyone hurt you, Hyunwoo said. It was not really an answer, but it was a promise. Bomi was feeling much better now. Her burns were nearly healed, and she could walk around without pain. She liked to draw pictures of her family and show them to Hyunwoo. This is my mama, she would say, pointing to a purple figure in her drawings. She makes the best food. And this is my papa. He tells funny stories. Little Yuna still did not talk much, but she had started following Hyunwoo around the station. She would sit quietly nearby while he worked, just watching him with her big eyes. Sometimes she would hand him tools without being asked, as if she could read his mind. On the 4th day, Mi Young's ship appeared on the station's sensors. Hyunwoo watched through the window as a sleek military transport docked with his station. He had not seen these people in 3 years, but they still moved like the deadly team they used to be. Mi Young came aboard first. She was a small woman, but Hyunwoo had seen her tear through enemy soldiers twice her size. She looked around the station with professional interest, noting all the new defensive modifications. Nice work, she said. You've turned this mining bucket into a real fortress. So where are these children you're fighting for? Hyunwoo led her to the common room where the 3 girls were playing a simple game with blocks. When they saw the new human, they hid behind Hyunwoo's legs. Mi Young knelt down to their level. Her voice became soft and gentle. Hello, little ones. I'm Mi Young. I'm here to help Hyunwoo keep you safe. Nari looked up at Hyunwoo. Is she a warrior too? One of the best, Hyunwoo said. The rest of the team came aboard over the next hour. Tae-hyun brought cases full of explosive devices that could level buildings. Sora immediately started studying the station's flight systems, figuring out how to make a mining platform move like a warship. Jinho set up a medical station that could handle serious injuries. They all met in the communication room that night after the girls were asleep. Hyunwoo showed them everything Dongmin had sent about Keth 7. The files painted a picture of a fortress world protected by thousands of Krathen, soldiers and automated defense systems. This is suicide, Tae-hyun said after studying the data. The place has more firepower than some planetary defense systems. Since when has that stopped us? Sora asked with a grin. Remember the Proxima Station raid? Everyone said that was impossible too. Jinho was looking at medical reports about the slave facilities. His face was grim. The mortality rate in these camps is horrible. People don't last more than 2 years on average. If we're going to get their families back, we need to move fast. Mi-young spread star charts across the table. The direct approach won't work. But what if we don't attack the fortress? What if we make the fortress come to us? They talked through the night, building a plan that was equal parts brilliant and crazy. It would require perfect timing, incredible luck, and the willingness to risk everything on a single gamble. As the sun began to rise on the asteroid, Hyunwoo made a final check on the sleeping girls. Yuna had started having nightmares every night. She would cry out for her parents in her sleep. But tonight she was peaceful, holding a small stuffed animal that Bomi had made for her from scraps of fabric. Looking at them, Hyunwoo felt the same feeling he used to get before dangerous missions. It was fear and determination mixed together. Fear that he might fail them like he had failed Ji-hai. Determination to make sure that never happened. The Krathen had made a mistake when they decided to hurt children. They were about to learn why that was the worst mistake they could possibly make. The team spent the next week preparing for what was coming. Every day brought new information from Dongmin's intelligence network, and every piece of news made their task seem more impossible. Keth 7 was not just a slave camp. It was the center of a massive criminal operation that reached into the highest levels of galactic government. The Hegemony Council, the organization that was supposed to keep peace between different alien species, was secretly working with the Krathen slavers. Look at these shipping records, Mi-young said, pointing to data on her screen. Council ships have been making regular trips to Keth 7 for the past 5 years. They're not just allowing this to happen, they're helping it happen. Tae-hyun was cleaning his weapons while he listened. So we're not just fighting slavers, we're fighting the galactic government too. Good, Sora said from where she was upgrading the station's engines. I never liked politicians anyway. The girls had been watching the humans prepare for days now. They saw how the team moved and worked together. They heard the serious conversations about weapons and tactics. Even though Hyunwoo tried to keep them away from the worst details, they understood that something big was going to happen. Nari approached Hyunwoo while he was studying maps of Keth 7. She had been practicing her human language skills, and her words were getting better every day. Hyunwoo, she said quietly, are you going to fight the bad ones who took our families? Hyunwoo looked down at her. She was just a child, but her eyes held an adult's understanding of how cruel the galaxy could be. Yes, he said simply. Will you come back? She asked. The question hit Hyunwoo harder than he expected. In his old military days, no one asked that question. Soldiers understood that some missions might be one-way trips, but a child asking if he would come back home made everything feel different. I will do everything I can to come back to you, he promised. Bomi joined them, carrying one of her drawings. I made this for you, she said, handing Hyunwoo a picture. It showed a human figure standing in front of 3 small purple figures. The human was holding something that looked like a weapon, but his other arm was spread wide like he was protecting the children behind him. That's you keeping us safe, Bomi explained. You can take it with you so you remember to come back. Hyunwoo carefully folded the drawing and put it in his jacket pocket. I'll keep it with me always. Even little Yuna seemed to understand what was happening. She had finally started talking more, though she still had nightmares every night. She walked up to Hyunwoo and hugged his leg. Bring Mama and Papa home, she whispered. I will, Hyunwoo promised. That night, Dongmin sent an urgent message that changed everything. New intelligence from Keth 7, the message said. The Krathen are forcing Vellani scientists to create biological weapons. First batch will be shipped to Hegemony military forces in 72 hours. If those weapons reach their destination, the balance of galactic power will shift forever. The team gathered in the communication room to discuss this development. Jinho pulled up data about Vellani biotechnology on his computer. The Vellani are peaceful, but they're incredibly advanced in biological sciences, he explained. They can create medicines that cure diseases we've never seen before. But the same knowledge that creates medicine can create weapons. What kind of weapons? Taehyun asked. Plagues that target specific species, Jinho said grimly. Viruses that could wipe out entire planets while leaving others untouched. In the wrong hands, Vellani biotechnology could end civilizations. Mi-young stood up and began pacing. So we're not just rescuing slaves anymore. We're stopping a potential genocide. The timeline just got shorter too, Hyunwoo added. We have 3 days before those weapons leave Keth 7. After that, we might be too late to stop what comes next. Sora looked up from her engine modifications. Well, the good news is that this rust bucket is now officially faster than most military ships. The bad news is that even at top speed, it'll take us 2 days to reach Keth 7. That gives us less than 24 hours to plan and execute a rescue mission on one of the most heavily defended facilities in the galaxy, Taehyun said. I've had easier challenges. Since when do we do anything the easy way? Mi-young asked with a fierce grin. They spent the rest of the night refining their plan. It was complex and required perfect timing, but it might actually work. The key was using the station itself as their primary weapon. Hyunwoo had been modifying the mining equipment to look like defensive systems, but Taehyun suggested a different approach. What if they made the station look like something else entirely? Mining stations are common in that sector, Taehyun explained. But what if we made it look like a damaged Hegemony Council research vessel? Something important enough that the Krathen would want to capture it, instead of destroying it? A Trojan horse, Mi-young said, understanding immediately. We get them to bring us inside their defenses voluntarily. Sora was already working on the modifications needed to change the station's appearance and identification codes. I can make this thing look like whatever we want. The question is, can we make the story believable? Dongmin's intelligence network had one more gift for them. He sent them stolen Hegemony Council communication codes and ship registrations. With those codes, they could make their mining station appear to be an official council vessel. Perfect, Mi-young said as she read the codes. We'll be a research ship studying biological weapons. Damaged and seeking emergency assistance. The Krathen will want to capture us to steal our research data. The plan was taking shape, but it required them to put the alien girls in danger. They would have to bring Nari, Bomi, and Yuna with them to Keth 7. The girls were the only ones who could identify their parents among thousands of prisoners. Hyunwoo hated this part of the plan. Everything in him wanted to keep the children safe on the station, while the team handled the dangerous work. But they needed the girls to make the mission work. We create a safe room in the station's core, he decided. Armored walls, independent life support, escape pods. If things go wrong, the girls can protect themselves until help arrives. Jin-ho was already designing the medical bay modifications they would need. I can set up treatment stations for multiple species. When we start pulling prisoners out, many of them are going to need immediate medical attention. The next morning, Hyunwoo sat down with the 3 girls to explain what was going to happen. He used simple words and tried to make it sound less dangerous than it really was. We're going to take a trip to find your families, he told them. It might be scary, but you'll be safe inside the station while we do the hard work. Nari looked at him with those big, intelligent eyes. You're going to pretend to be someone else, aren't you? To trick the bad ones? Sometimes Hyunwoo forgot how smart she was. Yes, we're going to make them think we're different people so they let us get close. Like a game, Bomi said. But a serious game. Exactly like that, Hyunwoo agreed. Yuna was quiet for a moment, then asked, what if the bad ones find out you're pretending? It was the question Hyunwoo had been dreading. If the Krathen discovered their deception too early, the team would be trapped on an enemy planet with no way out. Then we'll have to fight, he said honestly, but we're very good at fighting. That afternoon, they launched the station from the asteroid. Sora had installed engines that could push the mining platform to incredible speeds. As they jumped into hyperspace heading for Keth 7, Hyunwoo felt the familiar mix of fear and excitement that came before a dangerous mission. The difference this time was that he was not fighting for his government or his species. He was fighting for 3 small alien children who trusted him to bring their families home. Behind him, the girls watched stars streak past through the station's windows. They were heading toward the most dangerous place in the galaxy, but they were not afraid. They believed in the humans who had promised to help them. Soon the Krathen would learn what happened when someone made humans make that kind of promise. Keth 7 appeared on their screens like a dark metal moon. The entire planet had been turned into one massive prison complex. Towers and walls stretched across continents. Ships moved constantly between the surface and orbital stations, carrying cargo that Hyunwoo knew was made by slave labor. Ugly place, Sora muttered as she piloted their disguised station closer to the planet. Looks like someone built a nightmare and forgot to wake up. The team was dressed in stolen Hegemony Council uniforms. Fake identification documents showed them as researchers studying biological weapons for the Council's military division. Hyunwoo's ID said his name was Dr. Park, a weapons specialist. The girls were hidden in the armored safe room they had built in the station's center. Thick metal walls surrounded them, along with enough food and air for a week. If something went wrong, they could survive until rescue came. "Remember," Mi-young said as they prepared for the deception, "we are researchers. We act nervous and scared like civilians would. The Krathen think humans are weak because most of the humans they've met have been slaves or prisoners." "They're about to learn how wrong they are," Tae-hyun said, checking his hidden weapons one last time. Sora opened communication with the Keth-7 defense stations. "Keth-7 Control. This is Hegemony Research Vessel Morningstar requesting emergency assistance. We have suffered engine damage and need immediate repair facilities." The response came quickly in the growling voice of a Krathen commander. "Morningstar, transmit your authorization codes and research manifest." Sora sent the stolen codes Dongmin had provided. They showed the ship as carrying samples of biological weapons for military testing. Exactly the kind of cargo the Krathen would be interested in stealing. After a long pause, the Krathen commander spoke again. "Morningstar, you are cleared for emergency docking at Processing Station 7. Prepare for inspection." "They took the bait," Mi-young said quietly. "Now comes the hard part." Processing Station 7 turned out to be a massive complex built into the side of a mountain. As they were guided into a docking bay, Hyunwoo could see thousands of prisoners working in the open areas below. Many of them looked like Villani, but there were dozens of other species too. Krathen soldiers met them at the docking ramp. The aliens were exactly as Nari had described them, tall and powerful with scales like armor and teeth like knives. They carried weapons that looked like they could cut through steel. "Dr. Park," the lead Krathen said, reading from Hyunwoo's fake identification. "I am Commander Sektar. We will provide repair facilities for your ship, but first we must inspect your cargo." Hyunwoo forced himself to act nervous and civilian-like. "Of course, Commander. We appreciate the assistance. Our cargo is highly classified, but I suppose in an emergency." "Indeed," Sektar said with what might have been a smile. "Emergencies require flexibility." The team led the Krathen through their ship, showing them fake research equipment and sealed containers that supposedly held biological weapon samples. The aliens were clearly excited by what they saw. "Impressive work," Sektar said. "The Council's research has advanced significantly. We may be able to offer you additional repair time to examine your work more closely." "That's very kind," Hyunwoo said, knowing exactly what the commander really meant. The Krathen planned to steal their research and probably take them prisoner. While the inspection continued, Jin-ho had wandered off, supposedly to check damage to the ship's medical bay. Actually, he was scouting the station and looking for signs of where prisoners might be held. He returned with grim news. "I counted at least 3,000 prisoners in the sections I could see," he reported quietly. "Most of them are in bad shape. Sick, injured, malnourished. We need to move fast." "The Villani?" Hyunwoo asked. "I found them," Jin-ho said. "They're in a high-security research facility deeper in the mountain. The Krathen have them working on biological weapons, just like the intelligence report said." That night, the team was given quarters in the station's guest section. The Krathen thought they were honored guests who would soon become valuable prisoners. They had no idea they had just led a human military team into the heart of their operation. At Oro 300 hours, the team moved. They had memorized the station's layout during the day. Tae-hyun planted explosive charges at key structural points while Sora worked on taking control of the station's computer systems. Mi-young and Jin-ho headed for the prisoner sections while Hyunwoo went after the research facility. The station's security was designed to keep prisoners in, not to stop a professional military team from moving around. Within an hour, they had neutralized guard posts and gained access to the main prisoner areas. What they found was worse than their worst expectations. Thousands of beings from dozens of species were crammed into tiny cells. Many were dying from overwork and poor treatment. The smell of suffering and despair filled the air. Jin-ho immediately began treating the most seriously injured prisoners while Mi-young started organizing an evacuation. But they needed more time than they had. Hyunwoo reached the research facility and found something that made his blood boil. Villani scientists were being tortured to force them to create biological weapons. Electric shocks, beatings, and worse were being used to make peaceful researchers build tools of genocide. In one of the research labs, he found them. Nari's parents, along with a dozen other Villani adults, were working frantically on some kind of biological agent. Krathen guards stood over them with pain weapons ready to hurt anyone who worked too slowly. Hyunwoo stepped into the lab. The guards looked up in surprise. They were not expecting to see a human researcher in this section. "Dr. Park," one of them said in broken Universal Standard, "you should not be here. This area is restricted. I'm inspecting the research progress," Hyunwoo said calmly. "The council is very interested in these biological weapons." The lead Villani scientist, a male with tired eyes, looked up at Hyunwoo with a mixture of hope and fear. Something about the human seemed familiar, but he could not place it. "What is the current status of the weapon development?" Hyunwoo asked, playing his role. "We have created several viable biological agents," the Villani scientist said carefully, "but we need more time to ensure they are safe to transport." One of the Krathen guards growled impatiently. "They work too slowly. More pain will make them work faster." That was when Hyunwoo's act fell apart. "No," he said, his voice becoming cold and dangerous. "There will be no more pain." The Krathen guard looked confused. "What did you say, human?" Hyunwoo pulled out a weapon that definitely did not belong to a civilian researcher. "I said no more pain. Not for them, not for anyone else in this place." The guard reached for his own weapon, but Hyunwoo was faster, much faster. Years of military training took over, and the Krathen guard fell before he could even touch his gun. The other guards tried to react, but they were facing a human who had been trained to kill professionally. It was over in seconds. The Villani scientist stared at Hyunwoo in shock. The tired-eyed male stepped forward cautiously. "Who are you, really?" "My name is Hyunwoo," he said. "I found your daughters 3 weeks ago. They asked me to bring you home." The male's legs almost gave out. "Nari? Bomi? Yuna? They're alive?" "They're safe," Hyunwoo promised. "And they're waiting for you." Meanwhile, alarms were beginning to sound throughout the station. The team had been discovered. Over his communication device, Hyunwoo could hear Mi-young coordinating the prisoner evacuation, while Tae-hyun prepared to blow up major sections of the facility. "All teams, this is Mi-young," her voice crackled through the comm. "We have about 10 minutes before this place becomes very unfriendly. Time to go." Hyunwoo looked at the Villani scientists. "Can you walk?" "We can run," Nari's father said with a weak smile. They ran. Through corridors filled with confused guards. Past explosion sites where Tae-hyun had been busy. Toward the docking bay where Sora was preparing their ship for a very fast departure. Behind them, the most secure prison facility in the galaxy was collapsing into chaos. The Krathen had built their fortress to keep prisoners in, but they had never planned for what would happen when someone came to take the prisoners out. As they reached their ship, Hyunwoo could see thousands of freed prisoners streaming toward whatever transport they could find. Some were climbing into Krathen ships that Jinho had captured. Others were running toward shuttles that Mi-young had liberated. It was not a perfect rescue. They could not save everyone. But they had broken the prison open, and now the prisoners were saving themselves. "Hyunwoo," a small voice called out as he boarded the ship. Nari had come out of the safe room despite orders to stay hidden. She saw the group of tired Villani adults and started crying. "Mama, Papa," she called out. The reunion that followed was worth every risk they had taken to get there. The explosions on Keth 7 could be seen from orbit. Tae-hyun had placed his charges perfectly. The massive prison complex that had operated for 50 years was collapsing into rubble and fire. Secondary explosions from damaged equipment made the destruction even more complete. Sora piloted their ship away from the dying planet as fast as the engines could manage. Behind them, dozens of other ships followed, freed prisoners flying captured Krathen vessels toward safety. It looked like a small fleet fleeing from a war zone. In the ship's main room, families were being reunited. Nari, Bomi, and Yuna clung to their parents like they would never let go again. The girl's father, whose name was Hae-won, kept thanking Hyunwoo over and over in broken Universal Standard. "You brought them back to us," Hae-won said, tears running down his purple face. "We thought we would never see them again." The girl's mother, Young-soo, was too weak to stand up properly, but she managed to hug each of her daughters. "My babies," she whispered. "My brave little babies." Yuna, who had barely spoken since the rescue began, finally found her voice. "Mama," she said clearly. "The nice human promised to bring you home." He kept his promise. Hyunwoo watched the reunion from across the room. Something tight in his chest finally relaxed. For the first time in years, he felt like he had done something that actually mattered. Mi Young joined him at the window where he was watching the stars. "Not bad for a mining engineer," she said with a smile. "Not bad for a team that's been retired for 3 years," Hyunwoo replied. "About that," Mi Young said, her expression becoming more serious. "We're not done yet. What we did here is going to have consequences." She was right. They had not just rescued prisoners. They had destroyed the galaxy's largest slave operation and exposed the corruption that went all the way to the top of galactic government. The Hegemony Council would not ignore what happened on Keth 7. Over the next few days, as they traveled to a safe location where the freed prisoners could receive proper medical care, news of the prison break spread across the galaxy. The initial reports blamed terrorist attacks and system failures, but the truth came out quickly. Dong Min sent them updates about the galactic reaction. "The story is everywhere," his message said. "Humans destroy major criminal operation. Thousands of slaves freed. The Hegemony Council is in emergency session, claiming they knew nothing about what was happening on Keth 7. "Of course they're claiming ignorance," Tae-hyun said when he heard the news. "Politicians always do that when they get caught." But the consequences went beyond political embarrassment. Within a week, 3 more slave operations were discovered and shut down by their own governments. Species that had been silent about slavery for decades suddenly found their voices. The human government on Earth issued an official statement. Humanity will not tolerate the enslavement or abuse of any sentient beings. Any organization that engages in such activities will face the full response of human military forces. It was a declaration that changed everything. Humans had been a minor species in galactic politics, more known for being good engineers and merchants than warriors. Now the galaxy knew that humans were something much more dangerous when innocent lives were at stake. The freed prisoners were taken to a medical station run by one of the more ethical alien governments. The facilities were basic, but they were clean and safe. Most importantly, families could be together while they recovered from their ordeal. Hyunwoo spent time with the Vellani families, helping them plan what to do next. Their home colony had been destroyed, but there were other Vellani worlds that would welcome refugees. "What about you?" Nari asked him one day. "Will you come live with us on the new world?" The question surprised Hyunwoo. He had been so focused on the rescue mission that he had not thought about what came after. "I don't know," he said honestly. "I've been living alone for a long time." "But you don't have to live alone anymore," Bomi said, showing him another one of her drawings. This one showed a human figure standing with a group of purple Vellani figures in front of a house. "You could be part of our family." Yuna nodded seriously. "You saved us. That makes you family." Their parents agreed. "You will always have a home with us," Haewon said. "On any world, in any time. You are our children's hero." But Hyunwoo was beginning to realize that his work was not finished. The rescue of Keth 7 had been just the beginning. There were still other places where innocent people suffered, and now the galaxy knew that humans would act when others would not. Mi Young had been thinking the same thing. "We should make this official," she said during one of their planning meetings. "Turn the team into a real organization. Human intervention forces. We respond to situations where civilians are in danger and local governments can't or won't help. A military unit that specializes in impossible rescues," Sora added. "I like it." "It would be dangerous work," Hyunwoo pointed out. "We might not all come back from every mission. When has that ever stopped us?" Taehyun asked. "Besides, someone needs to do this work. After Keth 7, every slaver and war criminal in the galaxy knows that humans are watching." Jin-ho had been treating refugee families for weeks now. He had seen the worst effects of slavery and abuse. "Count me in," he said. "These people need someone who will fight for them." The decision was made easier when Dong Min sent them their next case. "Human colony ship went missing 6 months ago," his message said. 300 families, including over 100 children. Recent intelligence suggests they were captured by pirates and sold to labor camps in the Outer Rim. Hyunwoo felt the familiar cold anger building in his chest. More children taken from their families. More innocents suffering while the galaxy looked the other way. "Looks like we have our first official mission," he told the team. A month later, Hyunwoo stood on the observation deck of their new ship, a military vessel provided by the Earth government to support their operations. Below, he could see the Vellani refugee colony they had helped establish on a peaceful agricultural world. The 3 girls were thriving in their new home. They attended school with other refugee children, learning skills that would help them build new lives, but they still visited Hyunwoo regularly, bringing drawings and stories about their daily adventures. Uncle Hyunwoo, Nari said during one visit. She was taller now and her language skills had improved dramatically. The other children want to know if you're really the human who destroyed Keth 7. What do you tell them? Hyunwoo asked. I tell them you're the human who brought families back together, she said simply. That's more important than destroying things. Bomi had become fascinated with human culture and was learning to speak several Earth languages. Will you teach me to fight like you? She asked. So I can help people too when I grow up? Fighting should always be the last choice, Hyunwoo told her. But if you really want to help people, I'll teach you how to be strong. Even little Yuna had changed. The quiet, traumatized child had become confident and outgoing. She had made friends with children from a dozen different species and seemed to collect new languages like toys. I want to be a doctor like Jin-ho, she announced during one visit, so I can help people who are hurt. That's a wonderful goal, Hyunwoo said. The galaxy needs more people who want to heal instead of hurt. As their ship prepared to leave for their next mission, Hyunwoo received a final message from the girls. It was a drawing that all three of them had worked on together. It showed their human friend standing in front of many different alien families, all of them safe and happy. At the bottom, in careful letters, they had written, "Thank you for teaching us that families should never be separated, and that someone will always come to help." Hyunwoo folded the drawing carefully and put it next to Bomi's first picture in his jacket pocket. Then he went to the bridge where his team was waiting. Ready for the next one? Mi-young asked. Hyunwoo looked out at the stars. Somewhere in that vast darkness, more families were separated by violence and greed. More children were crying for parents who might never come home. But now they had something they didn't have before. They had humans who remembered what it meant to care. Ready, Hyunwoo said. The ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying a message that was spreading throughout the galaxy. No child should lose their family. Not while humans could do something about it. It was a promise the galaxy was still learning to understand. But every slaver, every war criminal, every person who profited from the suffering of innocence was beginning to realize the same thing. Humans kept their promises, and that made them the most dangerous species in the galaxy when someone threatened the innocent.